The drilling stopped. A metallic clang echoed beneath the desert, followed by a rush of stale air. The team stepped back, watching as dust settled over the reinforced hatch. No markings, no insignias, just a single phrase etched deep into the steel. Do not open. The fate of Earth depends on it. A silence stretched between them. No one spoke, but their thoughts were the same. Warnings like these were relics of the Cold War, meant to scare, not inform. A bunker, maybe a weapons cache. Either way, it was human, and that meant something valuable could be inside. The historian, Reed, adjusted his glasses. Pre-collapse era. The lettering suggests late 21st century, post-nation unification. The military leader, Captain Hayes, barely glanced at it. That's nice. Open it up. The engineers went to work. Sparks flew as plasma torches sliced through the rusted locking mechanism. Then, with a groan, the hatch buckled inward, revealing a steep metal stairwell descending into darkness. A faint hum pulsed below. Something was still powered. They moved in. The air was thick, the scent of ancient dust and machinery clogging their lungs. Light panels flickered, illuminating corridors lined with rusted terminals and sealed blast doors. The bunker stretched far deeper than expected. The further they went, the more it felt wrong. The historian wiped grime from a cracked screen, revealing faded text. Final archive access. Emergency use only. Reed frowned. This isn't a bunker. This is a control center. A scientist, Patel, pointed at a row of monitors, their screens dark but intact. If this place has power, we can boot these up. Maybe they'll tell us what this place was for. Hayes gestured to the team. Get it running. Power surged through the bunker. Screens flickered to life, data scrolling rapidly across them. Then static. A low beep. A file began playing. A grainy video. A man stared at them from the screen. Gaunt, unshaven, his face lined with exhaustion. His voice, when he spoke, was ragged, desperate. If you're watching this, you're already dead. The room went still. The man exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. Behind him, the screen flickered, showing Earth's surface, burning. We failed. We tried everything. If you found this vault, you need to understand, it was never a weapon. It was never meant to be used. Hayes folded his arms. Doomsday preppin' nonsense. Patel shook her head. Look at the timestamp. Reed's stomach dropped. The recording was dated over 400 years in the future. A second video cued. The same man, now older. Wounded. The bunker behind him in ruins. They found us. The beacon. The goddamn beacon. We were so sure it was our salvation, but we never realized. A crash in the background. A scream. The man turned, eyes wide. Static overtook the screen. Then silence. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Reed's voice was quiet. What beacon? Patel hesitated, then checked one of the still-running monitors. A string of codes scrolled across. At the bottom, a countdown timer. 12 minutes and 4 seconds. Reed swallowed. That's still running. Hayes scowled. A relic countdown means nothing. Patel's hands shook as she accessed more files. It's not a countdown to launch. It's a countdown to broadcast. Something inside the bunker was transmitting. And the signal was about to go out. Panic set in fast. The realization hit them like a hammer. This wasn't just some abandoned bunker filled with old warnings. The countdown wasn't a leftover artifact. It was real. It was active. And whatever it was about to send, it would be received. Patel's fingers flew over the console. It's a wideband transmission. Deep space frequency. She swallowed hard. It's a beacon. A distress call. Reed's breath was shallow. Who would it even be calling? The answer hung in the air. If the recordings were real, then the people who built this place were already gone. And the ones they had fought weren't. Hayes snapped into action. Shut it down. Patel's hands worked across the controls, canceling the process. Error messages flooded the screen. The system's locked. Override it. I can't. The failsafes. Hayes grabbed his rifle. Then we do it the old-fashioned way. They ran. The sound of their boots echoed as they followed the cables snaking along the floor, leading deeper into the bunker. The walls trembled, the hum of ancient machinery growing louder. At the end of the corridor, a massive blast door stood sealed, its surface covered in deep claw-like gouges. Something had tried to force its way in, or out. The engineer, Davis, pried open a control panel. Manual release is fried. We'll have to cut through. Hayes motioned him forward. Do it. The plasma torch ignited, sparks flying as metal gave way. Every second felt too long. Reed's mind raced. This was a last stand. They sealed this section for a reason. No time for debates. Hayes barked. The door groaned and buckled. The smell hit them first, burned ozone, decay. Then the sight. A control chamber, walls covered in dead screens. In the center, a massive device pulsed with deep blue light, like a mechanical heart. Cables coiled out from it, running through the walls like veins. The beacon. And at its base, bodies. Shriveled, contorted remains, humans, their skin desiccated and stretched over brittle bones. Their faces frozen in silent agony. Reed choked back bile. My God! Davis ignored the horror, rushing toward the beacon's interface. This thing is on a fail-safe loop. Someone programmed it to restart the transmission if interrupted. It's designed to never turn off. Hayes raised his rifle. Then we destroy it. Davis hesitated. We don't know what. Hayes fired. The bullet struck the core. The beacon's hum rose into a piercing screech. The lights overhead pulsed violently. Screens flickered to life, but instead of data, symbols appeared, glyphs in no known human language. They shifted, rearranged, forming something new. Something horrifying. A message. We hear you. The ground shook. Far above, something answered. The bunker trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling as a deep, resonant sound vibrated through the walls, not mechanical, not geological. Something else. Something alive. Patel's voice broke. That wasn't just a message. It was a response. Hayes reloaded, his hands steady despite the chaos. We need to get out. Now. Davis was already at the door, working to cut power to the chamber. Sparks flew as he ripped at the paneling. This thing isn't just broadcasting. It's receiving something. Reed turned to the screens. The alien symbols shifted, morphing into a crude approximation of human text. It wasn't perfect, but the meaning was clear. We remember you. His breath caught. This wasn't the first time. Patel's fingers trembled over the controls. They knew us before. Her voice caught as the symbols changed again. You hide. We return. The power surged. A deep, guttural hum pulsed from the beacon, vibrating through the metal floor. Above them, something groaned, the bunker itself. Davis cursed. I can't shut it down. The power source isn't even in this room. A metallic screech echoed down the corridor. Not from the beacon. From the entrance. Reed turned pale. Something's here. Hayes wasted no time. Move! They ran, feet pounding against the metal grating. The hum of the beacon followed them, growing louder, almost rhythmic, like a pulse. The air itself felt charged, thick with static. Then, the first impact. A thunderous boom from above. Dust and concrete rained down. The bunker doors had been sealed for centuries, but something outside didn't care. Another boom. The steel hatch at the entrance buckled inward. Davis skidded to a stop. That's not possible. Hayes pushed forward. Doesn't matter. We're leaving. They reached the control room, but the screens were different now. The distorted, decayed faces of long-dead humans flickered between symbols. As if something was learning. Adapting. Patel stopped cold. Her voice was barely a whisper. It's not just them coming back. Reed's stomach twisted. Then what? The answer came in the form of a final message, appearing in perfect English. You are not them. But you will be. The entrance hatch tore open. A shadow moved in the dust-filled light. They had been found. The air turned ice-cold. A deep, unnatural silence followed as the dust settled near the entrance. Then came the sound, slow, deliberate movement, something large scraping against the steel. No one breathed. Hayes lifted his rifle, steady, controlled. Back. Now. They moved, step by step, retreating deeper into the bunker. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls as the dim emergency lights flickered. Something was shifting just beyond the doorway. Watching. Davis whispered. What do we do? Patel's voice was hollow. If it's what I think, we never stood a chance. Reed's mind raced. The transmissions, the symbols, the warnings, they weren't about preventing an invasion. The invasion had already happened. This was the aftermath. The thing outside wasn't arriving. It was returning. And it remembered. A shape moved. Taller than any human, its outline wrong. The light barely touched it, as if it existed just outside reality's grasp. It didn't step forward. It unfolded. A low, resonant clicking filled the space. A sound that didn't belong on Earth. Then it spoke. Not in alien language. Not in some incomprehensible tone. It spoke in their own voices. Fragments of words. Pieces of the past. Snatches of the old recordings. The warnings. The desperate pleas. Twisted together into something wrong. Reed's pulse hammered. It's been listening. The creature shifted. Its form shimmered, splitting, stretching. It wasn't one entity. It was many. Something that had touched human minds before. And never let go. Davis panicked. Screw this! He fired. The muzzle flash lit the room for a split second, just long enough for them to see. The bullet passed through. The thing didn't move. It didn't even react. Then, it stepped forward. The lights flickered, dimming as the energy in the room drained. Patel screamed, clutching her head. It's inside! Reed staggered. Voices whispered in his skull, his own memories, twisted and rearranged. It wasn't attacking them physically. It was rewriting them. Hayes grabbed Patel, pulling her toward the hallway. We move now! They ran. The thing didn't chase. It watched. Through the corridors, past the beacon's control room, back toward the stairwell. The bunker shook again, but this time it wasn't from an external force. It was coming from beneath them. Reed gasped. It's not just one signal. Patel clutched the wall, struggling to stay upright. This whole place is part of it. A relay. The truth hit all at once. The bunker wasn't a sanctuary. It wasn't a vault meant to protect humanity's last hope. It was a trap. Not for them. For the enemy. The countdown wasn't a distress beacon. It was a lure. A signal sent into the void, calling something ancient back to Earth. And it had arrived. Hayes didn't hesitate. He grabbed a detonator from his belt. We seal it. Now. Davis hesitated. What if it's too late? Hayes didn't answer. He activated the charges. The explosion rocked the bunker, fire and debris collapsing the entrance. Dust choked the air as metal twisted and groaned under the force. The stairwell crumbled behind them. For a moment, silence. Then movement. Something shifted beyond the rubble. Not struggling. Not trapped. Waiting. A final whisper echoed through the cavernous ruins. We remember. And then, nothing.